When Disney released Wish, it was a textbook example of how not to make an anniversary special. It seemed the film pleased literally nobody, as multiple people were saying how it felt watered down, uninspired, and just overall bland. Even I did a review of the movie. Well, a short little first thought impression review, I guess, back in last year, even though it wasn't the year it came out. But I always knew I was going to do a redo in that review for this Disney-style reviews I've been doing for the last almost a year at this point. Because I was not satisfied with the review. Why? Because there's so much more to say about this film, and why it's such a failure. Because on my rewatch, I wasn't really mad or angry. I was just kind of pissed off at the circle in the middle of the screen because I have to pirate these in order to get actual footage, because if you've gone to streaming services, you can't get good footage. That's just my life, isn't it? The actual emotions I was feeling were kind of sad, because what was in this really bland movie was untapped potential. It turns out the original version of this movie was actually fantastic. But thanks to bland studio interference, the movie we got was anything but that. To understand what could have been, let's go over the film's plot and realize that they fucked over an amazing storyline. The film's about a perfect town called Rosas where everyone's happy because the king grants wishes. Well, he takes wishes, but no one cares when they're gone. And the main character, Asha, wants to go be a part of the king's courtship or whatever it is, so she can get her grandfather's wish granted that she doesn't even know, but she wants it done, and that's all she really cares about. The king is seems pretty cool at first, but then he's like, actually, I'm the villain, and your grandpa gets no wish. This star that has no personality, just a knockoff of Luma, can grant wishes, kind of, but not really. And Asha's going to use it to help save the town, because now it needs saving. But everything changed when a shooting star comes down, and it's like, yeah, I'm gonna buffer the screen for you, fucker. I know what you're thinking, but wasn't everyone happy? Well, it turns out they actually aren't, I guess. Well, one of the characters isn't. It's never really established to anyone else. So King Magnifico realizes that he's actually not a villain, so he needs to be more villainous. So he decides, I'm going to use his magic to make myself super duper evil, because Disney needs me to be super evil, but I'm very poorly established, even though I really should be more evil. But now I'm going to be evil, but it's going to be uncharacteristically evil, even though earlier I seemed more sympathetic, but now I'm not. It's like I'm a terribly written character. So now that the king is unsympathetically evil, he just goes on evil monologues and just references other Disney movies. He also realizes that he can just absorb other people's wishes, which he finally just discovered now. Like, why did you discover this now? Spoiler alert, it turns out in the original draft, he already did this from this very start. Why would they do that? Also, Asha has 7 friends who don't really contribute anything other than like one of them, and one of them's evil, I guess. So, and it's weird because they're all based off the dwarves, so Sleepy from 7 Dwarfs is now evil. Such a weird concept. So apparently everyone needs their wishes back, even though, like I said, it's poorly established, other than her grandfather getting it back, and we don't even see his wish get granted the very fucking end credit scene. The grandfather gets a whole emotion about his wish, but he doesn't really do anything about it, just to play an inspirational song, which is kind of vague. So you think, oh, he would do that. But no, he had to wait till the end credits, and the end credits, guess what it is? Just When You Wish Upon a Star played badly on a lute. But guess what? In the original version of the movie, he immediately starts to play a little song because he's so inspired that he actually starts picking up a song. Quite literally, it's not that great of a song, but it's like, okay, it actually sees a character and why these wishes are important to these people and why it's important to get them back, because now they have more motivation and happiness in their life. But they cut this scene out because the people who make this movie, not the people who actually make it, the fucking higher-ups who decide the decisions are fucking retarded and hate good decision-making. Oh, and that's not even the worst thing that was cut out this movie, because we'll get to that. The queen of the city, by the way, isn't evil, and she just hates her husband now because, even though she seemed like they had a good relationship, now she just throws that away because he's blatantly evil and has no remorse for the fact that her husband was taken over by an evil book, because who the fuck cares? I know you're probably thinking here, it doesn't seem a little hasty to trust the queen who's been around King Magnifico for a long time. Like, wouldn't she be like a twist villain? We've seen this in our Disney films, so it'd be a perfect time to have that, but not in this film. But trust me, I'll get back to that later. Near the end of the movie, there's also a bunch of pointless references to other Disney movies, like Asha looks like the fairy godmother for some reason, and the king becomes a mirror. He's the magic mirror, even though the magic mirror in Snow White wasn't even really evil, it was just a mirror. All the characters now hate the king, even though they loved him before enough that one of the characters actually wanted to make out with him, sexually harass him, but now, because they sing at him, his power goes away. And that's about it. So it's pretty obvious what's wrong with this script. The characters are pretty ill-defined and they're inconsistent. Character dynamics seem rushed or kind of forgotten over time. Asha's motivation is bland and uninteresting because we barely see a relationship with her grandfather enough to see why his wish is so important. Even then, we barely see his wish actually get granted. It's only an end credits scene, and even then, it's just a reference to another Disney movie, so it's pretty pointless. One of the characters is the main character is a star who has no personality, just a Luma from Mario Galaxy. And they have 7 throwaway characters who are there just as references to another Disney film rather than just being interesting characters or anything that makes the film actually unique or interesting. So what did the original version of the movie Wish look like, and why is it so much better? Well, in the original version, the king and queen were both evil. The queen wasn't just, oddly enough, hates her husband randomly, and has no sympathy for the fact he got confessed by an evil book, because who the hell cares? No, they were both evil, which is actually a pretty interesting concept, and something that Disney's actually never done before. They also had a cat who was also evil, I guess, because cats are evil. True story. Essentially, she would make potions and he controlled the wishes. Each wish he got made him more powerful, which is something they glancingly talked about in the actual movie. So basically, the town kind of was dull and sucked, but they used it in manipulation, saying this is the only place you can be free from everywhere else. But in reality, the king and queen were just using this to consume wishes. Their main goal was to take a star right out of the skies and get even the most power in the world. Fortunately, the producers thought, oh, this is lame. That's not good motivation. I don't know what the fuck they're talking about, because in the actual movie, he has no motivation. So fuck you, Disney producers. Also, the characters are going to have a villain power couple song. That sounds so good. I wish that existed. And just watching these deleted scenes, which I'll link, hopefully have a link to that in the description. That channel actually has these. You can see that every deleted scene is better than the full-on movie. That is sad. The film is also going to be much darker, with a lot of characters being imprisoned by King Magnifico and actually destroying his wishes and stuff, their wishes like that. Which sounds like a pretty interesting concept, but I guess they thought it was too dark. And yeah, whatever. Darkness and Disney movies, they don't go together, right? Though one of the most famous concepts that was taken from the film was, of course, the Star Boy. You've probably seen some images of this guy online. It was introduced in an art book, and people are like, what the fuck was Disney thinking? Originally, the star was, well, it had its original lame Luma design, but it was also a shapeshifter that most of the time took on the appearance of a boy who could fly around, and he and Asha were actually going to be their own couple to combat the king and queen as a couple. They also had their own pet, being the goat, who in this version seemed like it didn't talk, but I'm not too sure. There was like the one scene I saw didn't have it talking, which is good, because the goat talking in the movie is awful, it has some terrible jokes.
Shark! What? No, I have not seen a shark. I'm just practicing.
That was an awful joke. Based on the deleted scenes I've seen as in the concept art, he would have kind of been a fish out of water since, you know, he's used to seeing Earth from afar, so he's not used to it. So he needs Asha's help to get used to the surroundings. He also is attracted to her love of just granting other people's wishes and wanting them to come true. And because that's what the whole thing, they have a unique connection. And I think they format into a different character at one point. I'm not sure. A lot of these stuff were just deleted. All these interesting concepts are gone. You want to know why this character was pretty much scrapped entirely and just made to a one-off Luma character that does nothing throughout the entire film? It's because he took away scenes from Asha. What do you mean? They were in most scenes together. Well, because he has a lot of magical powers and he does too much, and she needs to do stuff, even though, like I said, she barely has much of a character in the original movie, and giving her actual character to bounce off of like this would have been actually interesting. And it would have been unique to have a Disney movie with an actual romantic subplot, since they actually haven't had that in a while. And people are already clinging to these two characters together, even though they're not even officially together, because they're just concept art. People actually got really into it, showcasing that Disney did a major fuck-up. The funny thing is, they originally had a love duet, but still in the film, but they changed all the words from love to be about wishes, even though Asha's only singing about how she likes her grandfather's wish, but in a really romantic way with King Magnifico, even though these characters aren't supposed to be a couple at all. In fact, I think at some point they were either supposed to be father and son, but not father and son, father and daughter, or adopted, or something like that, but it's not too clear. Like, so a lot of these details I'm just finding snippets, and sometimes they're just fan stuff, so who knows, but the duet is very jarring. Like, the song isn't bad. In fact, I'll talk about the songs later in this review, but the song just doesn't fit this scene at all, because, like I said, it's a love ballad between two characters who aren't in love with each other, in fact, are opposites to each other, so doesn't make any sense. No, seriously, this behind the scene with them running away from the evil queen and the Starboy transforming into a turtle and a horse and making notes about the horse's eyes being on the side and other things like that, it's super fun, and there's actually a lot going on here, but no, this seems entirely scrapped because, of course, we can't have fun in Disney. Coolly enough, there's actually an actual good Disney reference, with one of the things being a wishing tree based off Walt Disney's real-life tree they apparently wished upon, which I didn't even know about. Apparently, we can also see what Asha's wish is, because we don't even know what her wish is in the actual movie, because all she cares about is her grandfather. But it turns out she actually cares about her family, because at this point, she and her family had to escape from the the main city and go to a village because of the fact they learn about King Magnifico, and that's what her main motivation is. Not just for grandfathers to get a wish, but actually to have a better life for everyone. That's a much more interesting character, and it makes sense. Why did they cut this out of the movie? This is the biggest failing of the Disney movie, because the most popular character from the movie is this Star character. They animate him into scenes. They like this character a lot. Wish merchandise did not sell very well, and if we look online for fan animations, pretty much most of them are only really about this deleted character from this film, because it sounds interesting. I'm into it! It's not even the film, but I'm into this concept. And the problem with it is, without any of this stuff, interesting concepts of villains being a power couple and them actually draining characters before the movie even starts, hiding village actually better character motivation for the main character, as well as her having better motivation and better relationships between the other characters. There probably will still be more flaws, but everything about this has passion, has life. But all of that was taken away because, well, we can't have a love interest in this movie. That we can't do that anymore because I don't know why. No one asks for this stuff. Nobody is asking for them to not have love stories. The only thing they complain about in other Disney movies is that some of them were underdeveloped. But that hasn't been a thing in a long time. People loved Tangled, which I do too, because of the relationship between the two characters. But it seems like Disney just hates doing it. And if we do have them, it's shit like Kristoff and Anna, who are a fucking terrible couple. And I don't need to go into that any more than I did in my Frozen 1 and 2 review. Well, mostly 2. And what were we left with at the end of the day? A very sad movie that just references Disney movies, and that's all it really has at the very end of the day. Also gotta mention that the animation isn't very great. Well, it moves okay. The style is very bland. And why is that? Well, you can guess that the animators originally wanted to bring back 2D animation. But Disney, for some reason, can't do anything that sounds cool, creative, or what anybody wants, because fuck that, it's not marketable, even though technically that is marketable because they're fucking stupid. Yes, this movie was supposed to be 2D animated with maybe some 3D backgrounds, but they eventually just went with some bland watercolor backgrounds and bland shaders, so it looks like everything's not rendered correctly. It just doesn't look right because they went half-assed instead of going for a unique style, because Disney doesn't want them to go to unique style. They want it bland as possible. That's this film, bland as possible, no creativity. And that's why Wish is such a painful movie. When I watch it, I see it's just okay, but then I remembered all the things that could have made this great, and there's elements that are not bad, but just so, ugh. Trust me when I say that you're better off watching the deleted scenes. You'll have a funner time watching those than the actual film, which is not a good sign. Disney's Wish was not the 100-year celebration they wanted it to be, even though 2023 really shouldn't be the year they celebrate their 100th anniversary, at least in my opinion, since they really even weren't called the Disney Company at that point. It was Disney Brothers Productions. They didn't even start really doing main animations until 1925, and the main ones that they're known for, that the animations they actually owned from 1928, so whatever. And the sad thing is, it's not even the best way to celebrate Disney's 100th anniversary with as cameos from other characters, because they already did that later the same year this movie came out. They actually released a short film called Once Upon a Studio that was a celebration of every film and short film they ever made, which combined 2D and 3D animation. Like, I'm actually shocked to see 2D characters in this film. Like, oh my god, they actually can do that? I didn't think that Disney was able to do that anymore since 2011. And they actually mix in some of the 2D characters and 3D characters together, and that's really impressive. You know how hard that is to do, and it looks great. I like this short a lot. They reference every other Disney movie, even ones that no one cared about. That's cool. I like that. Like, there's fucking Bull. Who remembers Bull? Well, some people probably do, but you didn't expect to see that next to Minnie Mouse of all characters and Peter Pan, which are way more popular characters. They got Pete Dragon and that kid from that one movie that I reviewed. Like, geez Louise. This seems like it would be just a cheap, like, knockoff. Like, okay, here's all a bunch of Disney characters, like that Rock Breaks the Internet, but it's actually not like that at all. This movie is short filmed basically like if Disney decided to make that scene in Ralph Breaks the Internet actually genuine to how their actual characters are supposed to be, and have them be their own animation style, and it works surprisingly well. Look, there's just 2 Home on the Range cows and Oswald the Lucky Rabbit. The fact that the whole time I do that, like, holy shit, they have that character there? That makes me excited. I'm so glad they brought back that random-ass character. Sorry, I really like this animated short. It's fun. I like it. It's better than Wish. Goofy breaks the camera, but Fix-It Felix fixes it. I like that a lot. Like, that's really clever. So yeah, if you want to watch a Disney animated thing, well, it's a short, so a movie or anything like that, go watch Once Upon a Studio, which definitely gives you insights, especially since they have a great behind-the-scenes feature where they talk about how they invented each character and everything like that, and they talk about obscure characters and everything like that, and try to get as much characters as there as possible. And it's so nice to see it. Just see the respect. It's just not for all the main popular characters, like the shitty characters like Olaf and stuff like that, but obscure characters like the shitty dinosaur in the background, and the trees from was it just called Trees? The Silly Sympathy, but the first one, the color. I do not know. Dancing with the Trees. Dancing with the Trees is not what it's called. And yeah, in the center there is Asha, believe it or not. She's in there somewhere. You gotta find her. Only one character from Wish is there. It was supposed to set up that, yeah, Wish is coming, and yeah, but this is way better than Wish, so that's kind of sad. If only Disney treated these characters with respect, not do live-action remakes all the time. I think I mentioned this in a previous review, but they recently announced they're making live-action Tangled, and you think it makes me happy? It doesn't. Fuck you for doing that, Disney. Put respect in your Disney films, and stop making shit sequel after sequel. Make original films, and actually put effort in them, and don't cut out good stuff from the films. The main reason I do all this is because Wish could have been a really great film, but in the end it didn't turn out that way. Like, oh, look, there's Peter Pan for some reason. I don't get it. So unfortunately, we'll probably never see the original version of this film that was once fantastic, and we're stuck with the really bland and shitty version of the film. And that makes me sad. Like, really sad. I really hope Disney can get their act together. Maybe one of those days will do like the Zack Snyder Justice League version of this film, where it's 2D animated and has all the original concepts. That would be pretty great, but I'm not holding any, for as that saying goes, I'm not holding any alligators. I don't know, I'm not holding any hope. Like a lot of 2020's Disney animated films, this one was a failure. I think only two of them did well, which is Encanto and Moana 2. And Encanto is the only one that I can say was pretty impressive. They didn't even market it. It was an original film. People actually went out and saw it because they heard it was good. And that really showcases that actually making good films is more important than merchandising the hell out of them. Wish basically has no media, besides the fact they have a bunch of merchandise, like plush and stuff like that. So there's nothing, no Disney Park stuff and no video game related things or TV shows, and probably won't ever, unless they do my Wish cut of the film where it's 2D anime and has all the original concepts, which hopefully that will happen, but probably won't. Seriously, Disney, I guarantee you'll make more money by making that than whatever the hell your live-action remakes are, which don't last a lifetime. Maybe it won't make that much in the first initial startup, but if your anime film is good, it will keep getting more and more viewers as years go on. People will go back to it constantly. You guys keep forgetting that. Even films that didn't do well for you make money over time. Alright, it's tier list time. You can see Wish made it to the top of the E tier. Not the worst film in the world, obviously. I think Disney's made much worse, but it could have been. It's one of those films that have all the ones at the bottom tiers, the only one that feel like just using the original version of the film, not even just a rewrite, just use the original version. They rewrote it and made it worse. The original version was way better. But yeah. I think the main reason why it was so much worse is because they didn't replace it with anything. They cut everything out, and just because of that, everything was ended up being bland and more marketable. And because of that, it was so bland that it wasn't even marketable. It's one of those things where it turns out taking risk in the end may be more worthwhile. I don't know what Disney is doing down there, but whatever. Hopefully they can get their act together. We'll see. Unfortunately, we have no original films for them to go off of because, like I said, they're all sequels. The next couple films is going to be, we have Moana 2, Zootopia 2, then Frozen 3, and so on and so forth. So nothing original coming out there. Even Pixar is going to be like that. But yeah, Wish, it's not bad. It's not good, but honestly, I did appreciate it a bit more, mostly because I saw a little bit of the elements that were good about the original version this time around, or than the first time, which I thought was just complete dog shit. But yeah, it's definitely better than Pocahontas and Chicken Little. But at the same time, I don't know. It's not very good. I can't recommend it. I guess even I already gave you better recommendations for similar things to this. But yeah, this is not the things I get. Speaking of which, here is our Disney villains, and yeah, I put King Magnifico into C tier. He has so much wasted potential. He's the only character that I feel like is decently designed in the movie. Asha's okay, but she looks a little too similar to other Disney characters for my liking. And everyone else has pretty shit designs, but Magnifico actually has a pretty good design, I feel like. As a villain that's good. He's kind of like, he's show-offy a little bit, but you can see some cynicism behind him. But, no, he doesn't really work. Like, it's mostly because they can't figure out what they want him to be. See a twist villain? No, not really. There's a twist, like, really, he's a villain early on. he seems, is he like sympathetic villain that makes sense? No, because he seems like a little sympathetic and he has some reasons, but then he just goes way out the deep end, ran over nothing. Do you have a good villain song? No, that not a good villain song. He's just kind of like in the middle there. Chris Pine does the best he can, but unfortunately, the villain was just much better in the original draft when he had more going for him. Alright, we're in the song rankings. Now, I would do a princess ranking, but for some reason they decided not to make Asha a princess, even though it feels like she should have been, but whatever. So she can't be counted. And I guess I can't count the queen either. I guess I could have counted her, but, whatever. Fuck her. I didn't count evil queens before, so I'm not counting them now. So who cares? So for Wish, I remember the songs being a lot worse, and they have some really bad elements, mostly for the writing, but I'll talk about that. I talked about that mostly in my first review. And I feel like that's the thing that's been talked the most to death about Wish, even more so than deleted scenes, the fact that the songs just don't work. But, yeah, they don't work. But they kind of do, but no at the same time. They actually sound better when you don't watch the movie with them and just listen to them by themselves, which is something that doesn't usually happen. A lot of times it's better in the actual film. But here, it's like the exact opposite. So, oddly enough, I thought it was surprising there is no F-tier songs in the movie, which is not something I expected to happen. But in E-tier, we have the worst one, I'm a Star. This one, the melodies in the movie aren't that bad. The biggest problem with these songs are written by writers, and they didn't do an awful job for the first time writing that. They wrote some songs I fucking hate, these people, but the actual in Wish, they aren't bad. Compared to their pop songs they released on the radio, some songs that made my ears bleed for years in the 2010s, the songs they wrote for Wish are like a giant step up, but that's not saying much. I'm a Star is easily their worst song, by a landslide. In the movie, it's one of those songs that doesn't make any sense because what they're saying doesn't correlate to anything. The Animals start singing a song about how you're a star and how they're making like sophisticated sayings, I guess, but it's funny, kind of, but not really. Like, they're trying to explain a lesson to Asha, even though she doesn't need to learn a lesson because she's already perfect in this film, I guess. So I've been very confused. They're just saying, did that answer your questions? But they don't say that. They say, did we answer your question marks? And a lot of the terrible lyrics. And they say, and then one time the guy goes, solar! For no reason. It's very annoying. But like I said, melodically isn't bad, so I'm surprised it's not in the F tier. But when you're watching the movie with the really annoying characters is when it's really bad, but listening to it by itself, it's more of an E tier, so that's why it's there. In the D tier, we got a Wish Worth Making, which is the credit song, actually sung by one of the songwriters, Julia Michaels, who, he didn't do a terrible job writing Wish, but definitely could use some rewrites, but I can't forgive you for writing some terrible songs in the pop radio. I think she did this one Selena Gomez song, but there's a bunch of other ones that I know, but don't remember at the top of my head. There's one I know that was fucking awful. Wish Worth Making is not a song worth listening to, that's all I can say. So, the next one on the D tier is Knowing What I Know Now. It doesn't start off too bad other than the weird lie part. When the other characters start coming in and singing, it's just very especially when the queen comes in and acts like, yeah, I even though I'm the queen, my husband's an asshole. Which would be fine if that was the main moral of the story, but it comes off half-assed. Like, I do not like where they went with the Queen character, especially compared to the original version, but whatever. Beggars can't be choosers, I guess. So that's why I don't like that one. Then, This Wish Reprise, which is just kind of bland for a finale song. This Wish was already a song that had a lot of problems, but was only saved by the fact that the voice actress for Asha is actually a pretty good singer, like a very good singer, and pretty much saves a lot of these songs from being absolute trash. But This Wish has a lot of bad lyrics, which we'll get into when I talk about This Wish. Melodically is fine, but as I Want Song Reprise, this is easily the worst one we've seen. And I love I Want Song Reprises. Reprise, I don't know how to say that word. I feel stupid because I should know how to say the word, but I have prompt communication because I'm fucking stupid. Alright, there you go. You happy? Yeah, it doesn't really work, especially since this part should have been a lot more impactful because the film failed miserably beforehand. It is not very impactful. And most of the songs, I believe all of them, are in, Is that the top song? I think I forgot to put the one song in there, even though I feel like I did. So now I'm having an aneurysm right now. So I'm pretty sure it's up there, but I didn't put the yellow part on it. If you see this one song, what the hell? Let me exit out real quick. Alright, I'm back. I forgot to color in. It's right in the top of C tier, the song I was thinking about. Anyway, so here's the rest of C tier songs. These are all pretty meddling. These songs are just a couple of rewrites and just restructuring. These songs could have been higher up, but because they fail at doing that, they don't. Anyway, bottom C tier, we got This Wish. How is the I Want song this low in the ranking? I will never understand. I don't need to say much. The main problem with this song is one of the main verses. I throw caution at every warning sign. I don't need to say anything. But what the writer's trying to do, they're probably trying to do something that Lin-Manuel Miranda does, but only he can pull it off. Even then, people don't even like it. I personally like it, but it's only something that I found that he can do, where he does slant rhymings and sayings that don't work, people usually say. But it seems like he works them out a lot, so even if it isn't something that normal people say, it still works in the context of the film. But these writers weren't able to pull off that at all. Throw caution every warning sign doesn't make any sense, and I don't need to go into it. Just keep thinking about that, and you'll figure out that's a dumb line. And there's a lot of lines in this movie like that. And it's one of those songs that just kind of ends. Since they are pop writers, they don't know how to end up on a bombastic note. Characters, when they sing a I Want song especially, it should be more passion-filled as longer it goes. Just think of songs like Part of Your World is my top I Want song at Disney ranking, and how that song goes, and how it gets more passion-filled in the end, and then it slows down a little bit, as it's part of the character writing. But here, it just kind of stops. And a lot of songs just kind of stop, or they just slow down randomly without any really warning, because they're just going based off pop song standards, but not actual musical theater ones, and because of that, they don't really work that well. Speaking of which, this is the Thanks I Get. It's one of the most infamous songs from the movie. Because one, not only were we going to have an original villain, which I do appreciate, that's why Magnifico was ranked higher than he probably should have been, because at least we have a villain. He's not written well, but somebody who likes movies need a villain, and I can say at least this movie had a villain. It wasn't written very well. And was this a villain song? People love villain songs. And this is way too poppy. The biggest problem is the doo-doo-doo-doos in the background, which don't make any sense. The part before the song, even I got hyped, even though I already knew the song was going to be in the movie. It's like he's like King's getting pissed off all the people. He's like, you can see his anger rising in the animation, and you can hear a melody in the background. Like, okay, he's going to start singing. Like, this is a perfect time to have a villain song. And he talks about, then first thing he talks about is, I can't help that mirrors love my face. It's genetics. I got these genes from outer space. What? Why is that the first thing he sings about? So he's pissed off right now, and the first thing he thinks about is like, oh, I'm hot as shit, and I got genetics from outer space, somehow. What? Is that his origin? Are you just getting a random origin for King Magnifico's power randomly? No, it's just a random throwaway line. And then, of course, he says, I let you live here for free, and I don't even charge you rent. I don't explain that, but all of a sudden, some reason he's like a manipulator. Now he uses up people in his song. I want to make this guy do this and that. But before that, we never even seen him do that. So now that's his character, I guess. But it doesn't really tie into anything that's really going on. And then he seems like he's getting angry at one part. And he's like, wait, let me stop that. And then he goes, do again. Like, what? That's not how a villain song's supposed to go. It's a giant failure. But I kind of like it. That's why it's in C tier. It really should be lower, because it fails so miserably, but I can't hate it. Alright, the C tier, the only two songs that I kind of don't really have any problems with. Welcome to Rosa sounds pretty decent. It's not great. There's a really weird flow part when Asha's giving a random explanation to everything, and it just sounds weird. Like, she's fine with people not remembering their wishes, but near the rest of the movie is her being mad about that. So why would that even be a lyric? It's almost as if it was written for someone else to sing, but they decided to have Asha sing it. So there's a lot of problems with this movie, and that's one of them. But yeah, it's a fine introduction song, though it does have a problem with the fact that Roses is a perfect town, and that there seems to be no conflict, which wasn't a problem. They're just because they weren't both in a perfect town, because everyone was miserable a little bit because of King Magnifico. It was actually written pretty well, but no, fuck you, we can't have good shit. Oh, I hate this movie. And then At All Costs is the original romantic duet in the film. It makes no sense at all. There's some lines that don't work. The original version of the song worked way better. You can actually hear that online if you want to. But why did they make this as a random song about talking about wishes, even though it's clearly supposed to be a love ballad, and the two characters seem like they're falling in love with each other, then immediately they hate each other? It's like, come on, Disney, you are so bad at this. Yeah, this is Wish. You could see a little bit of the early elements of the film in some of these songs, and that's why I don't think they're that bad, but they definitely could have been a lot better. And that's it for Wish. Wish is not a very good film, has a lot of missed potential, and I really hope that, I know it's a pipe dream, that we actually see the original version of the film. Anyway, we got one last Disney film to cover. This would have been a perfect one to be ended this whole marathon on, but no, one Disney film came out during this marathon because it took too long making it, and that movie is one I actually haven't seen yet, so I'm very excited to see Moana 2. So I'll see you then.